What's going on, everyone? It is Matty Big Chest, the DWZ here with Dr. Kyle, board certified PT. How you doing, Kyle? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Boxing Day, Happy Holidays, Happy
Merry Kwanzaa.
almost the end of 2020. And I got my Disney Animal Kingdom mug here.
Yeah.
Yes, just crushing coffee all day long today because I don't care if I sleep. I'm on vacation already. I'm not working today. I'm not working tomorrow. I'm not working Saturday. I'm not working Sunday.
Me neither. But that's because I'm
work
unemployed. Woo! I got my Christmas drink here today. Usually I have a squirt in my hand, but today I've got a Coca-Cola because, Santa Claus only drinks Coca-Cola with his cookies, as we know.
It's too bad we got to figure out how to use some sort of Photoshop, and you hold that up, and all of a sudden, like an animated polar bear comes by and just takes it, like the polar bear Coca-Cola commercials that they've been doing on Christmas for years.
I think Coca-Cola would pay me if I was able to do that. But yeah, we're here with the MRI update. It's your MRI report. We are here to help you win your championship games. We don't want you to have any injured players in your lineup. We don't want you to play anyone who's not going to be playing because of injury. We don't want you to be playing I wasn't going to say Deontay Johnson, but the dropsies are there for him, but he's not injured. He's good. But yeah, for injury updates, we're here for you guys. We're here to support your team. And Dr. Kyle's going to give you a little rundown. So I'm going to ask him some questions, and he's going to throw his response. We're starting with running backs. And is Ezekiel Elliott playing this week?
That's a good question, Matty. He was trending toward playing last week, and even McCarthy said I think he said he was surprised that he couldn't go game time. And then all of a sudden it was Pollard. Pollard just carried the workload. And Pollard probably got some people into the ship, won some DFS cash for folks because he had a couple touchdowns, I believe. So I think it could be. We're gonna have to look until Thursday, probably Friday. Today is Thursday. Oh my God. The Friday injury report will be the final tell probably for us. Hopefully he's not a game time decision. That Cowboys game, I believe, is a 4:30 start. Hopefully you have Pollard rostered if you have Zeke rostered, and then you could just do either or. But it's amazing how I think Pollard, if Zeke doesn't go, feels like a lock. But if Zeke does go, I almost feel like if you have a better option, you should roll with him.
Exactly. It's funny. They're paying this man $100 million, and this man's getting $800K a year, and he looks better than Zeke. And I don't know.
His contract goes until 2027. I saw.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
For a running back, why? But and how?
It doesn't matter because all contracts really are only 2 to 3 years ultimately, but still.
Yeah, he gets to say that he has a mega deal, but it's not guaranteed fully. So we talked about Zeke. If Zeke suits up, sitting Pollard is probably the right move, like you said. Right. But obviously, if Zeke suffers a setback and doesn't play, Pollard can be trusted, like you said. That's the big takeaway from this. Like, that's all you got to know. Zeke cannot be trusted, but Pollard can. It's kind of a flip-flop and weird. But let's move on to another team in that division. Is Antonio Gibson playing this week?
That's an interesting one. I thought with the turf toe a few weeks ago that he would probably be done for the fantasy football playoffs. And here he is. I think he logged a full practice today.
And yesterday too, I believe.
Yeah, and yesterday. So I think he'll go. I think Washington right now, they are playing for a playoff spot. They need this game so that they don't necessarily need the next one. I think that's how it'll work in that division. If Washington wins one of two, they're automatically in with the tiebreakers. I'll have to double back on that. Maybe if they win one of two, the Giants win out. But I think Giants and Washington, no, they don't play. I don't know. Well, whatever it is, Washington, because they basically gave Haskins like a freebie on his, oh my God. Like, I don't even want to get into that, but the dude was in a strip club or around strippers without a mask
on. He had to pay them to wear his jersey. Let's just say that, first of all. There's no way those strippers are wearing his jersey without getting paid.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Coach is a cancer survivor, and here he is. He's already looked like a bonehead for the organization in the past, and here he is, and he's starting again in a position where he shouldn't have been, but injuries to Smith and Allen, and all of a sudden he's got a chance to be the hero to make the playoffs, and he just F's it up, and they don't do anything other than slap him on the wrist with a fine. So I think that points to Washington is all in on making the playoffs. So I think we'll see Gibson play, and the Carolina Panthers defense is nothing to write home about. So it's a good matchup. So if you got them, especially with the upside, if I think the only scenario you sit them is if you have a stacked roster and maybe you're playing against a guy who doesn't really have a right to be in the championship, and you're a huge favorite, and maybe you want to play with a little bit of a safer lineup, you don't start him. But otherwise, I think Gibson's in your lineup.
And you know who I love more than Antonio Gibson besides DeAndre Swift?
Who?
Our sponsor, Viridian Global. Viridian Global makes some of the top-notch apparel for fantasy football. You can get any shirt you want with any player. They got a King Henry design that's awesome. They got a Lamar Jackson Konami code shirt. If you go over there and you use code MBC2020 on the Viridian Wear collection, you can save 15% on your first order. Go buy yourself some stuff with that Christmas cash you're about to get. It's good quality. It's a tight fit, athletic fit shirt. It fits really well to me because I am obtuse. So, if it makes me look skinny. So I like it. This is my Hawkamania shirt right here from the Viridian Wear Dynasty Warzone collection. Really love this one. I wear it almost every day. But I wash it, I swear. Don't worry. But yeah, go get some merch from Viridian Global. They are a great company, and I love what Will's doing over there. So let's move on to the next running back. After Antonio Gibson, is James Robinson playing?
James Robinson. So the injury report states that Robinson will be rested all week, but Marone expects him to play Sunday, which is just baffling because he's a high ankle too, and it looked like a classic high ankle sprain mechanism. And I'm pretty like it was, eversion sprain, toe in the ground, and his ankle bowed, and like there were bodies on top of him. Maybe he's superhuman. Maybe his toe didn't quite get stuck in the turf like often does. I don't know if I trust the coach on this one. Like, what is Jacksonville playing for right now? They're playing for Trevor Lawrence.
They have to lose.
They had an interesting discussion on the Dream Preview today about, okay, the organization itself would behoove themselves to not end up with Trevor Lawrence. But all the guys on the team, like a lot of them are probably just playing for future contracts, or they're not playing for a Super Bowl with Trevor Lawrence 3 years from now. So why would they not play? So it's an interesting conundrum. But so James Robinson, this was my thought, and it probably doesn't hold a lot of water, but it's just something to think about. Like Gardner Minshew looked pretty good last year. And, because of the Jacksonville Jaguars situation this year, he's probably going to lose his starting job. But here's a guy who in week 1 threw 19 for 20 and upset the Colts and had a decent couple of games after that. And then it turns out he was playing through a broken thumb or an injured thumb or a broken finger, and did not tell anybody. That's sort of what you have to do when you are a low draft capital individual. Your job is much more replaceable. Maybe James Robinson is like – he's had an incredible rookie season, but as he's undrafted free agent or a 5th round pick or something like that, he maybe he knows he's in one of the most dispensable positions on offense. Maybe he knows that because of his draft capital, he's got no guaranteed money, and he needs to continue to play to show his worth to the team. So just interesting things to think about. I think you should have a backup plan. I think this is a 1:00 game, so you'll know. But the injury reports are not going to tell us anything before then, unless all of a sudden they decide that he's going to be out. But I don't know how you could declare not practicing all week and going to play Sunday and that change before Sunday. So have a backup plan.
I definitely agree with you. James Robinson's a guy that I was trying to trade for. Thank you for that reminder, by the way. James Robinson's definitely a guy I was trying to trade for this past week, but now he's someone that I'm shying away from in my championship runs because obviously he's probably not going to be playing. But he's a tough SOB, so you never know. But let's go to another tough SOB. This is a guy who is a survivor, man. Is James Conner playing?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, he logged a full practice today, correct?
I believe so.
Double check on that.
James Conner was back at practice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've seen very little Anthony McFarland at this point, and I think Benny Snell's been okay, but this is a team fighting like the Steelers have lost 3 in a row. They look like a shell of what they were in the first half of the season. They're tired. They're banged up on defense. Big Ben is getting no protection up front. I think James Conner is a go only because there's some reliability there. There's probably better pass protection for Big Ben, which he'll need. Easier to dump off. I don't love him as a start. Maybe he's a desperation flex, but I have to think that if you're in the championship this week, you haven't relied on James Conner at any point this year, and hopefully you don't have to now. But I would say all signs point to him playing this week in some capacity. But this Colts defense, perhaps overrated at times, but has gotten healthier. Buckner's back, Leonard's back. The offense is putting up points. This game is my fabulous big bet, so go give a listen there if you want a little bit more insight as to what's going on in this game. But yeah, I think we'll see James Conner this week.
I really hope so. I know that he's a guy that people are relying on because he's someone that they probably bought for cheap in their playoff run because people are selling him for pretty cheap. But James Conner, he's a guy who's I have a lot of respect for. He's out of Pittsburgh. He's a native from Pittsburgh. He's a cancer survivor, and I hope he gets healthy and is able to play and able to help you win your championship games. Next guys, one of the guys that I really love is Damian Harris playing.
That's a good question. I mean, he was close to playing last week and then didn't, and it was Sony Michel's week. Now the Patriots are officially out of the playoffs, but something tells me, and here's what stinks. So it's Buffalo and Buffalo is at New England on Monday night this week, right? Uncle Bill, I don't think he's one to lay down, especially in a divisional game. I still think this is the Buffalo. I think this is still the Bills to take. I think they're probably going to try and make a statement in New England. New England is a bit formidable at home, but the Bills play in a very similar climate in Buffalo. So if Harris plays, what will his role be in that offense? I think Buffalo will be most likely playing from ahead most of the game. And, what's Damian Harris's involvement in the passing game this year?
He's in there, but it's James White's job.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
I have to agree with you.
Played was against the Rams. He had 11 rushes for 50 yards, negative game script. Let's look at some of the negative game script against Houston. 11 for 43. He had a touchdown that saved his fantasy day. I think he's very game script dependent. He did have 16 for 102 the last time they played Buffalo, but that was a much closer game. So, but on the season, he's got less than 10 targets, 5 receptions. I just don't see this being I don't know. I'm just down on this Patriots offense. I'm down on this Patriots team. The Bills
aren't we all
flying right now? Yeah. So you don't be in a position where you depend on Damian Harris this week, whether he goes or not.
Yeah, so if Harris can't play, Sony Michel will be the lead back with James White and, maybe a little J.J. Taylor sprinkled in there. But, Michel would be the only fantasy viable option, though White could draw some consideration as a low-end flex in a PPR league. So I would look to play Sony Michel if Damian Harris doesn't play because he's going to get the carries because Cam Newton cannot throw the ball downfield. But let's move on to the next running back because the New England Patriots are doo-doo this year. Not very good. Eliminated from playoff contention. Here's just a random question for you.
Okay.
Would you rather be the GM right now? I know that Bill Belichick's the GM, but would you rather be the GM of the Patriots situation or the Lions situation? Because the Lions have a quarterback at least.
I think I'd have to see. Well, yeah, but I think I'd want to see what the overall draft capital value for the next 2 years would be.
Mm-hmm.
Who's got more pick value the next 2 years? Like Houston.
Ugh.
Houston, you get to walk into Houston. You have Deshaun Watson as your quarterback. But what picks do you have the next 2 years?
You got Larry Tunsil though. That's cool.
I mean, I hope they get a GM with some experience there who who can find some, okay, here's the guys we need to flip to get some picks and get some maybe up and coming talent. Similar to what we do in Dynasty, I think, where moving some of those older veterans who still have some value. I don't even get me started.
They don't really have many though.
Well, what's crazy? So here's what's crazy: what they already did this season, or should I rephrase that? Didn't do. The Texans. Will Fuller is in a contract year. He's walking as a free agent, and they didn't get anything for him.
Nothing. They won't even get a comp pick till next year. Nothing. It won't be this year. People think comp picks are like, oh, they'll get a third. That's not this year. That's next year because they're all calculated the year for the next following year. So I think it's just crazy that Will Fuller wasn't traded to the Green Bay Pacs. But I think that
I think I'd want the Lions GM position more than the Patriots, and probably Lions position more than the Texans.
I think the sexiest appealing GM position is Jacksonville if they lose out. Because not only do they have the 101, they also would have another first for this year. And then they have DJ Chark, they have Laviska Shenault, and they have Colin Johnson, who's starting to come on strong. They got 3 pretty good wide receivers. They got a tight end they drafted in Josh Oliver, who will be back. And, I think that they have a decent defense and a decent enough defense to add pieces and be able to put a defense together. So I think we might see Louis Riddick go there.
Defensive end Josh Allen was their first round pick last year.
Yeah. And everyone's saying, oh, the Houston Texans should draft Jamar Chase. And I'm like, in what world are they going to get Jamar Chase? Unless Jamar Chase is caught smoking out of a gas mask, he's not going to fall to the third. So
was that Laramie Tunsil? Yeah, he's a Texan. That's the best part.
Yes. So we're going on to the next guy. He's a Dolphin. He's in the same division as Damian Harris. Is Myles Gaskin playing this week?
Yeah, Gaskin's back, I believe. And the Dolphins are running the ball well. Flores, I love what Flores is doing with that team. He's limiting mistakes. He's keeping the ball on the ground. They're playing strong defense. So I think Gaskin's a guy that you're going to want to go with. Definitely.
I think that he's a good start because, when he plays, he gets over 20 carries usually. They don't really trust Tua to throw the ball as much as they'd like. They kind of limit him because he's not learned the playbook as well.
And with Parker and Gesicki, still question marks. I know we'll get to them at some point, but maybe we just hop to them right now. I think
next, yeah.
We're not going to know much about Parker and Gesicki until later in the week. And I think it's hard for Flores and Tennessee owners to trust Tua. Though Tua, what did he do this week? He had
2 rushing touchdowns.
Or 2?
He had 2 rushing touchdowns.
Oh, ayo.
Cheesy jokes for y'all. I got my Farva stash, so I got to be a little cheesy.
He's not Konami code, but the last 3 games he got 3 attempts for 3 yards, 6 for 24, 3 for 9. Yeah,
who is Konami code though?
Who?
Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is running a preseason offense, and he beat the Saints with a preseason offense.
Yeah, trap game for the Saints.
It was such a trap game. And the Cardinals almost had a trap game too to the Eagles. But they were able to pull it off in the end. But, Jalen Hurts is running stick outs and he's running quick outs. And these are plays that you don't see many teams run often, but they're running them so often because Jalen Hurts doesn't have a grasp of the playbook yet because of the limited offseason. Watch him bloom his second year.
No.
No?
Not unless they end up with a different coach. Doug Peterson couldn't even – Hurts' first game, they only asked him to throw the ball 30 times. They keep the ball on the ground. They get Miles Sanders involved. And they beat the Saints. A fucking week later, they are +3 in the turnover column. And they, again, going back to what they couldn't do with Carson Wentz, is Miles Sanders had 5 touches in the second half.
Do you remember when Carson Wentz could use his legs, though?
What'd you say?
Do you remember when Carson Wentz was able to use his legs?
This year,
he's been a little beaten up, but when he was in his MVP season, he was running the ball, he was being aggressive, and then he got hurt.
This year.
But this year he's just been rough. He's been holding on the ball too long. He's been taking sacks. He's not able to move up in the pocket. It's been rough for Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz needs an offensive line. He needs Frank Wright back.
I just want to know, why do people think that the Eagles are all of a sudden going to be able to develop Hurts when they mismanaged Wentz this season?
No, I don't think that I don't think that Peterson's going to be back. That's the thing.
I hope not. I mean, as a Cowboys fan, I hope he sticks around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I really don't think
everybody
Peterson
else in
will
the
be back.
NFC East should hope. You know, all of a sudden, like, okay, Joe Judge is looking pretty good. Ron Rivera's done well. McCarthy, I think, will do better in a second season. But Doug Peterson is the worst coach in that division, and if the Eagles don't
By
change
far.
that, I think Hurts. I mean, how many times can you let somebody run the ball? I don't know. I think to me, it smells like he's definitely a better quarterback than Tim Tebow was, especially as a prospect. But to me, it smells a lot like the Tim Tebow situation, where he's got, you know, the fear of the unknown, end of the season, little tape, team rallies behind him. He's going to be able to run the ball, but how many sacks did he take the other day?
He took 6.
Yeah, like, I don't know. In key situations, they were like marching in a red zone. And I look, you know, I didn't watch the game, but I saw the play-by-play on, you know, NFL.com, and it was like sack. I'm like, this is not helping me cover my big bet. That's why I was watching so much. I thought the Eagles would cover 6.5. You know, a little bit of a bad beat with like Doug Peterson. Like, why the fuck was he going for 2 when he went for 2 at that one point? It was like the first half, or it was like the second or third quarter. Just still a lot to figure out. I don't know. I just like Hurts. You whatever you like. You're playing him this season, and then if I'm a Hurts owner in fantasy football in his super flex dynasty, like, I'm moving Hurts in the offseason, hands down. I think his value is going to be so inflated for what his long-term value can be. Look at, like, Lamar Jackson was such a stud a year ago, and he was like the fifth or sixth quarterback in our super flex, startup mock the other night.
Well, he also can't hit a wide receiver that's outside the rails, aka the hash marks. So, Lamar Jackson doesn't have quite the arm that Jalen Hurts does. The accuracy, I mean, isn't that? And Lamar Jackson went the 31st pick in the first round, and Jalen Hurts was like a top second round pick. So there's a lot to like about Jalen Hurts. There's a lot to not like about Jalen Hurts. So he is a big question mark. But I think that if he has the right coach in there, if they bring in someone like a Joe Brady, that's a sexy upside appeal there. And, we didn't like Lamar Jackson going into year 2. We didn't like Kyler Murray as much. We all like Kyler Murray going into year 2. I have to digress there. But we didn't like Josh Allen that much going into year 2. But now we love Josh Allen. So it's a little tricky. You have to be trepidatious, as Memphis would say, when trading for Jalen Hurts. If you have Jalen Hurts, you might want to keep him. I have a league where I found Jalen Hurts on my taxi, and I'll have Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, and Jalen Hurts, and Taysom Hill, all late-round picks for the most part after Dak. So, it's pretty nice to see like a quarterback room come together with Jalen Hurts if you had him. If you drafted him late in a startup, that was great. But, to sell him now, it feels like he's skyrocketed in value. So it makes sense to sell him now, but in the off season, hold him because his value is only going to drop.
Yeah.
So that's just my aspect from it from a dynasty standpoint. Because once the season starts again, and if he's the starter, his value is going to go right back up. So it's going to be tricky because he's a rushing quarterback. Rushing quarterbacks score you points. In a 4-point per passing touchdown league, he'll get you 6 points for a touchdown because he's going to be doing the quarterback power, quarterback draws from that Doug Peterson has him. He put him in an isolation zone play against the Saints where he had a safety in a one-on-one, and he just ran the safety right over. But how many of those hits can he take realistically is what we should be asking as an injury show. So you have a point there. Doug Peterson has to go. Doug Peterson's not the answer. But let's move on to our next Miami player, Devontae Parker.
Devontae and Gesicki, I think, are in a similar boat. They both were question marks or questionable towards the end of the week last week. I think Gesicki was a game time decision. Parker might have been ruled out before Sunday. So I think they both have a shot to go this week. It'd be nice if we could get one of the two back for Tua. He's developed. I would prefer Gesicki. I got Gesicki in a lot of dynasty spots. Not that I'm playing for much. I'll take that back. In one league, my 1250 buy-in. Playing for the 101. The FFPC, they do to win the 101 win, you have to win the consolation bracket. So my team very much underperformed. 0-13, like just injury riddled team. Like AJ Brown, DJ Chark couldn't get off the injury report early in the season. Then Drew Lock, Jimmy G.
It was just been rough for you.
Yeah. So all of us, and Saquon Barkley was my first pick. Tariq Cohen, like just injury riddled. But all of a sudden, my team. So I own 13, so I get the consolation bye. So I'm guaranteed a top 4 pick. And then they do an interesting thing in the playoffs where in weeks 15 and 16, the highest scoring team combined for those 2 weeks wins the championship. And also that they do the same thing in the consolation bracket. And I actually had the highest scoring week last week because my team's healthy again. Jonathan Taylor is ripping. AJ Brown's been dialed in. And if Gesicki comes back, well, it doesn't matter. Gesicki and Logan Thomas. Whew, I mean, when I traded Carson Wentz and Darrell Henderson, or no, I traded Hawk and Darrell Henderson in that league in like week 6 or 7. Like Hawk was doing well. Wentz was clearly a buy at that point. He's still a buy right now, but you could get him cheaper than I did. And it was, and I got Wentz and Logan Thomas, and I was like, yeah, why not Logan Thomas? I'll kick the tires on him. I remember JJ Zacharyson being like, Logan Thomas has all the makings to be this year's Darren Waller. And this was in the preseason. So his name has been on my radar, and I'm like, yeah, let's see, And so the trade felt like Wentz for Hawk straight up. Like, I don't know how relevant Henderson is in that offense with Cam Akers breaking out. We'll get to him. So it felt like a good chance to just get rid of a running back that was only going to be useful potentially on a contender. And again, he might be useful this weekend because Akers is out. But all of a sudden, Logan Thomas is like a centerpiece of that Washington offense. They got, McLaurin, Thomas, and Gibson. Like, if I don't know who's the quarterback in Washington next year. Do they draft somebody? Do they trade for somebody? Or do they make Haskins or Alex Smith work long term? Logan Thomas and Mike Gesicki feel like good young tight ends to have in a 1.5 point tight end premium.
Yeah, if Washington makes the playoffs, they're kind of SOL for a quarterback unless they want to go Mac Jones or Kyle Trask. Right. But, I could see Mac Jones going to that offense and doing well because we see Alex Smith, a similar quarterback, not mobile because he's still a little bit mobile, but he used to be a lot more mobile than he was, and he's doing a lot more checkdowns. Mac Jones has a nice arm. He's probably going to be available at their pick, and, he's a good quarterback. If they can get Mac Jones, I would like it. I think that landing spot would be great if they're picking around 19. Speaking about quarterbacks, is Derek Carr playing?
So if I was watching the game and last Thursday that is, and watching him, take off, like, it was a very benign play. Of course, like it was soft tissue injury. I think his right adductor, his groin muscle. And as soon as it happened, I saw him grab there. I was like, oh, down with the groin. Call in Jerry Sinclair to take care of him. But
a little massage.
Perhaps it was like a grade 1, and there's always like any soft tissue injury in game. If you don't get back to feeling like you can't re-aggravate it, you pretty much have to shut it down. But on a long rest, there's the potential he plays. And I wonder if with how well Mariota played in his absence, that Derek Carr's got a little bit more motivation to get back in there this week. I think everybody knows that John Gruden loved Mariota as a prospect coming out of college. And so he's still, Mariota's playing for a future. So he's, if you watch him play, like the second he got a chance to take off for a run, he's like, bring on the contact. Like I want it. He was moving. He was fired up. He was clinging. Makes me a little bit nervous I like Miami in that game this week, but I just, I don't think Mariota's got all that special of a talent, and that Raiders organization is a bit in disarray. But I think, Carr has already practiced this week. There's a chance he plays this week. I don't love the matchup. So you could almost argue that Mariota is a better quarterback matchup because of his ability to run the ball. So you'll get those, basically, when you have a rushing quarterback, it's almost like you're guaranteed like a touchdown in value, like 6 points, 4 to 6 points feels like what you get on a given week as a floor for a quarterback that really can scramble. And I don't think Carr does, and Mariota will look to regularly probably. So we'll
Want to
see what
know
the
something
injury.
that's crazy?
What's that?
People forget that Mariota beat the one of the best teams in the playoffs. He beat the Kansas City Chiefs when they were on a special run with Alex Smith.
Oh yeah, I do remember that game.
Mariota's
Kansas City too.
yeah, and Mariota had Mike Mularkey as his head coach when he was a rookie. So that didn't do him any favors.
And wasn't it the year after that where he had a nerve injury in his throwing arm?
Yeah,
he had an ulnar nerve injury in his throwing arm. That is not something that you bounce back from very quickly.
If you're an Oregon fan, you loved watching that game. Justin Herbert versus Mariota. That was a dream come true for Oregon fans. That was awesome to watch. I loved it. I thought it was so cool because I watched Mariota play against Michigan State. I watched Justin Herbert play against Michigan State. They both were phenomenal. And, I have to say, the future's bright for Justin Herbert, but the future could be bright for Mariota if Derek Carr is replaced by Mariota because Mariota was serviceable. He was making plays.
What if Washington wants to kick the tires on a Mariota type or a Jameis Winston type, like a guy that probably so you don't have the draft capital to get a top tier rookie, but you're not going to trade for a Carson Wentz if he's even tradable. That's something. But it seems like you have to be able to. You have to have a lot of cap space on that one. I don't know. I think Washington might be in a cap friendly situation. I doubt that happens. But yeah, like Winston is probably wants out of New Orleans if he's not the guy that Taysom Hill is. Mariota, if the Raiders go with Carr, then Mariota might have enough of a sample size if he plays this week to get a shot somewhere like Washington. So in my 750 FFPC Dynasty League, I did terrible with waivers this year. Memphis and I do the Fabulous Big Bet recording every Wednesday night at 9:30, and those waivers run at they close at 10 p.m. on Wednesday. So I missed them so many times here. But what's been nice is the last few weeks because I've been out of the playoffs in a few leagues. Unfortunately, it's allowed me to focus on my waivers in those leagues. So 2 weeks ago, I managed to get lit. Like I have the most fab by far. And the next most was very low. So I'm in, I knew I would get Lynn Bowden. I think he's looked good, and I think the Dolphins will try and make him a piece of that offense going forward. So I think that's a good long-term add in running back. But I spent enough to guarantee that I got Marcus Mariota this week because if he can only end up in a better situation in the offseason. So yeah, I know that's we always digress on this show. That's what's good.
No, I like going on tangents because Mariota is a guy that I think that the Washington football team would be a perfect fit for him to be a 1-year guy like Teddy Bridgewater was. Right. Just give him a year and see what happens. Maybe draft a quarterback like Mac Jones in the second if he's available. Yeah. Get a guy you can develop. And then, there's another quarterback from Cincinnati that looks really good. He's his name's I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I should know this because I'm a Devy guy. But Cincinnati Bearcats have a really good quarterback, and he's a dual threat too. So if he could sit under Mariota, he would look pretty good. It just
love the coaching staff in Washington too. I feel like they can develop. I mean, they made Cam Newton an MVP.
They did, and now Bill Belichick doesn't know how to use Cam Newton. But Cam Newton also, his arm's shot.
Yeah, he's going out.
He looks like Peyton Manning.
Blue Factory.
Yeah, he's throwing ducks. But let's go to our next name because we talked enough about Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr looks like he's practicing, so most likely plays. Unfortunately for Mariota, but I think Mariota had enough of a sample size to get a backup job at least next year.
Agreed.
Big name on our list, Julio Jones. I feel like he's always on our list. What's up with Julio?
Poor Julio. I don't know if he's in. He might be in Kenny Golladay territory at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't practice on Wednesday. Did he?
Kenny Galladay's in his own territory, man.
Yeah, no. Kenny G.
Poor Kenny G. He's sitting out. I don't think his hip is that hurt to where he couldn't come back.
I don't think so either because I still haven't heard what it is. I just keep hearing hip. Was it his hip flexor?
It was They didn't say because, the Detroit Lions, they said that TJ Hawkinson had a high ankle sprain and he had a broken leg.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So who knows?
Yeah, Julio. So Julio didn't practice today. Falcons are just playing for pride at this point. Russell Gage has been great. He's one of my DFS guys this week. And, I don't know. Look, the Chiefs aren't covering the last 6 weeks. Matt Ryan looked great in the first half last week against Tampa somehow. Again, digression here, but there's no reason for Atlanta to rush Julio back. It didn't practice at all today. Did they play on Saturday this week?
Shit, Atlanta. But this just feels like an audition for Calvin Ridley to be the guy.
My God, I love Calvin Ridley.
Oh, don't we all? Don't we all love Calvin Ridley? He's a stud. I traded him to Jerry in Jerry's listener league, and I regret it. But that's a little bit of a tangent there. But I'm going to cover the next wide receiver as we talked about Julio Jones. Kiki Kuti, Romeo Crennel expects him to play. So expect him to play and put up numbers again. He had a little bit of a foot injury. He always seems to be banged up, but Kiki Kuti should be playing. So let's go to the next stud, Dr. Kyle. Is Stephon Diggs playing this week?
I think Diggs is a go.
I agree with that. Let's keep it to that because
he's already practiced in full this week, and they play Monday. And I remember them talking on Saturday, so really long rest. That it didn't seem serious. So I think Diggs is a go. You can probably fire him up. You just fire up Diggs.
He's so good.
That's the respect he gets at this point.
I traded him to you for nothing.
Let's talk about that one for a second.
Let's do it.
So that was I have Michael Gallup. I was high on Gallup.
I was so high on Michael Gallup because I was so high on the Cowboys offense this year.
Yeah, so at this point it was I didn't think Josh Allen was going to take the step forward that he did, which it's interesting. Like Kirk Cousins didn't make Stephon Diggs what he's been, but he somehow managed to make Justin Jefferson what he's been. So I don't know what to make of that. Other than maybe Diggs was just fed up with how being less than what he could be. And so it's one of those that you just need a change of scenery for everybody. But yeah, Stephon Diggs and Michael Gallup. So what side would you put the second round future pick on to even out Stephon Diggs and Michael Gallup? Because I don't even think Michael Gallup plus what gets you Stephon Diggs.
It would
probably two firsts at this point, right?
It would have to be a first and a high second. But
okay, first and a high second. And I got the Stephon Diggs side with the second, baby.
Let's just say it was my worst trade of the year by far. And I learned from that. So I've learned to trust my eyes instead of my heart. And I thought Michael Gallup was going to be a stud. I thought Michael Gallup was the next thing. I scouted Michael Gallup forever. I took so much time to scout him when he was coming out of Colorado State because I really liked him. I told Jerry he was my favorite wide receiver from that class. I backed it up with that trade with Stephon Diggs for Stephon Diggs in a second for Michael Gallup. That was a terrible trade, but we learned from it. We evolve as dynasty players from it. My team doesn't look that bad in that league anymore. I know you're not in the league. I know you gave the team up to Baylor, but
I'm looking at it right now. I still have access. He's got, Baylor. I know
Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, and Tua.
We've talked. Baylor and I were actually talking last night because the other team I handed him is in the championship, the listener league. But quarterbacks are rough in this league. Got some work to do there, Baylor. Gonna have to invest. Daniel Jones, Minshew, Dalton, Cam Newton. I know I had somebody better in there. Maybe not. I don't know. But the A.J. Brown trade for Deebo Samuel trade, that one stings. So at least it was made up for with that Stephon Diggs trade.
Definitely. Everyone has their ups and downs in trades.
So he's got a 21 first and 22 first. I know because I traded you Swift and I got a couple first for that.
I moved Swift. I moved Swift in that league for whatever reason. I regret it. I did it to get my first back because I thought I was going to have the 101, and then I went on a run, traded that pick for Joe Burrow. So I really just traded Swift for Joe Burrow when Joe Burrow was popping off. So I thought it was a pretty good trade. Joe Burrow
right now for Burrow is probably pretty fair.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't take Joe Burrow in our Dynasty Warzone mock draft in the 15 pick mock draft that we did. You can check that out on our
He's
podcast.
probably the next quarterback off the board in that draft if you
He
think about it,
probably
though.
is. I would take Joe Burrow over Tua still.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
you know, so let's go on to the next player because we still have quite a lengthy list.
Oh,
Is
jeez.
Keenan Allen going to be playing?
We'll go through these rapid fire.
Yes.
Keenan Allen is. I think it looks like he's going to be a game time decision.
Hmm.
He was limited last game. I don't know if he practiced today, so
He
keep
has
an eye on the
not
reports tomorrow.
been reported. So
Yeah, 4 o'clock game. Have a backup plan. You got to have like Guyton or Johnson as a last second or somebody else in the 4 o'clocks.
come here, Obi.
They've been good enough. Who's next on the list?
This is my dog, by the way. Dogs of Dynasty, Obi. This is my boy.
He will be playing this Sunday.
He sees himself. Yes, he
Looks
will be
super
playing.
healthy.
He is very healthy. He has 2 ACL. He has 4 ACLs actually. So I'll tell you that. So he could spare some to Saquon if he needed one. But let's go on to the next player as we are going rapid fire. John Brown of the Bills. They don't need him. Is he playing?
Who cares?
Yeah,
Irrelevant.
exactly. Tyler Boyd, concussion.
I'm not even going to tell you the story, but Tyler Boyd is. And I don't blame Tyler Boyd. I mostly blame myself. There was a number of things that went wrong in my matchup this week where I lost by 2 points, and then I had Tyler Boyd. I needed 2 points from Tyler Boyd on Monday night. Didn't get him, but concussion protocol won't know until Saturday if they're
So
playing.
he's game time.
Yeah.
Just keep an eye. Please keep an eye. Do not start him if he's not playing. You're in a championship game probably if you're.
Look what they've done with Mixon. If I'm leaning on this one, I'm leaning he's not playing.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree with you. The next one is Cam Akers, the 2-game superstar that everyone put as the RB1, even though Malcolm Brown had more fantasy points in the week 1 game. So let's just talk about this one really quickly. He's out.
He's already ruled out.
Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown are going to be taking his place. I'd expect Malcolm Brown to be the big name there.
Yeah, I don't know if I want either running back in that game right now. Seattle's defense has been better. They've slowed down the pace of their games the last 4 or 5 games. And the Rams offensive line isn't looking great. Jared Goff. I mean, we can't make all these decisions based off of how they looked against the Jets. That was definitely.
I just want to say the Rams, like I said after our mock draft, I'll keep this short. The Rams have not lost to a team that Frank Gore has not played on. Has Frank Gore played for the Seahawks? No.
Not yet.
So, I think the Rams are going to have to steamroll the Seahawks because the statistics say it, man. So we'll see a lot of running game, I think, from them because the Seahawks haven't allowed a touchdown pass from a wide receiver in quite some time now. So it's going to be a running game, I think. And Darrell Henderson has upside. I traded Darrell Henderson for 2 2022 firsts in a Debbie league. That was a huge trade for me. I don't know how I got that, but I'll take it. And exactly, it's a Christmas miracle that I was able to trade Darrell Henderson for that. But yeah, so I hope you guys have a Christmas miracle and win your championship lineups. We wish you all the best. You want to leave them with some parting words, Kyle?
Hey, if we in some way manage to help you guys choose a start sit that gets you the chip, tweet at us, let us know. Give us a review, subscribe on YouTube. If the YouTube subscription is nice because then you'll get the alerts exactly when Maddie and I are going live. Follow me on Twitter at DWZ_Dr. PT. Maddie's handle is what?
I said, please do follow Dr. Kyle because he's a funny follow. He tweets sports stuff too.
Memphis and I, that's what we talk about. We are here. Yes, we're going to try and give you the best information we can, but we want to entertain you. And my Twitter, if you catch me tweeting in game when I'm literally just watching football and on my phone, you probably won't get better content from anybody else.
No, I love those tweets. I always favorite them. Keep tagging me in them, please, because I don't always check my Twitter. So just keep tagging me. I love your tweets, man. So keep it up. And from the MRI report, this is our last MRI report. So I hope you guys all have a good new year, and we'll see you next year with the MRI. So with that, we're going to be signing off. So later.